Hello everybody, welcome to the Daily Sip. My name is Oliver and my mission is to bring you closer to organic Japanese green tea, and today we're gonna dive into tea pairing with chocolate. And we're not gonna talk about any tea, we talk about one specific tea, and this is the so-called Hojicha tea. Hojicha is actually a green tea which has been roasted, but within the roasting process there are different possibilities. One, if you do a slight roasting only, then you talk about Hojicha, which is a little bit leaning on the typical production process in China, which is pan frying or pan firing is it called, and there actually the teas are just dried in a steam bath on a hot pan. Meanwhile, in Japan, most of the tea are really used only to be picked and then put into a sole steam bath, giving them this super vegetal and super green flavor profiles, which are linked to spinach, which are linked to edamame, which are just these light green and fresh tones. But when we talk about Hojicha, we are really talking about a roasted tea, and this means that it is kind of a longer process and a hotter process than with the Hojicha. The Hojicha can be roasted at around 30 minutes at around 70 degrees Celsius up to 100 degrees Celsius. When we talk about Hojicha, we talk about 1 hour and 140 degrees Celsius. And in the pre-stages of the production, before it is dried, so there I was talking about the last step with this 140 degrees Celsius and this longer up to 1 hour kind of roasting process. But before actually the tea is put into a steam bath, and it is in the first steam bath already heated up to 400 degrees Celsius, so quite hot, giving it its special flavor profile. When we looking into Hojicha, often I hear people say that they're a little bit more stringent. I think this is a little bit related to the fact that the stringent notes coming out a little bit more, being nicely mixed with this a little bit caramel notes, which are developing thanks to the fact that the tea is slightly roasted. But when we are moving in the territory of Hojicha, so really dark roasted teas, there we are entering caramel, strong caramel notes, deep caramel notes, coffee notes, dark chocolate notes. And that's why I believe this tea is just a perfect pairing for chocolate, and especially dark chocolate. And so we exclude today white chocolate, so we only talk about dark chocolate. And actually what I want to show you is which tea pairs better with which chocolate or kind of chocolate. Good. What I brought with me today is on the one hand, we are having here a cookie Hojicha. Cookie Hojicha is nothing else than a kukicha, so a stem tea. So these are the stems of the leaves and some leaves mixed together. Maybe I put it a little bit closer. You can see it's mainly stems, and some of them, some of the leaves are still inside. But here we're really talking about a stem tea, very nicely roasted by Mr. Isin. So he's living in the very south of Japan on the Kyushu island. And then we're going to Shizuoka, Mr. Kawabata, who did this Hojicha, and you really can see the main difference. Here we really have a lot of leaves, some stems coming out, but most of this is leaves. I assume this one has been done with bancha leaves, giving a little bit the thicker leaves which are used here. So as they're roasted, the tea gets quite dry, and I think the best tea here, or one of the best, is definitely to use bancha, more mature leaves, which are used for the bancha green tea, and these ones here are roasted, and you have a slight mix of leaves, but mostly leaves and a little bit of stems. And here with the cookie Hojicha, we really talk about the stems. And when you taste these teas, there is actually quite a big difference between the different leaves. The taste profiles, when you're having the stems are actually capturing quite nicely darker or even darker notes. So I'll go to this in a later stage when I'm trying these teas. And on the other hand, when you're with a normal hojicha, what is nice about a very nicely roasted hojicha, sometimes they're even a little bit slight roasted, but here we really talk about the dark roast, but still they're more a little bit of caramels, a little bit more sweeter notes. So definitely a very interesting difference between these two, but we're gonna get into this. Then in Switzerland we can buy different chocolate types, but more and more we have a little bit more dark chocolate, which is coming into vogue. So this is 92% cacao chocolate. So here we have quite a dark, maybe a little bit, even a little bit of a bitter chocolate, which is pairing quite well. But what we have to know about chocolate is the more intense the chocolate amount, so the higher the percentage of the cocoa, then a little bit more kind of stronger, a little bit more intense, then the chocolate flavor can become. And the next one I will use is actually, and this is maybe a little bit of a famous thing, so you know maybe Toblerone. This is just a copy from one of the supermarkets, but it is milk chocolate. So it's actually nicest milk chocolate with a little bit of honey, almonds and nougat. So this is quite a good and decent chocolate to eat. Toblerone is maybe the most known. This is just a copy of it. Actually, I like this one a little bit better than Toblerone, but that's my personal opinion. And we're gonna use one piece to pair it with the hojicha of Mr. Kavabatain. Good. So now already color-wise you can see the difference. Here we really have the dark chocolate and here we have the milk chocolate. You can already see here much darker, so the cocoa amount is higher and here the cocoa amount is a little bit lower. Additionally, we have a little bit of nougat and especially it is milk chocolate. So then let's go into the tasting of these two teas first, and then we're gonna have a bite of the chocolate. Important thing is when you are in Japan, then often you get a sweet to your tea. In Japan, clearly mochi is the most known. Maybe some of you don't know mochi, but mochi is actually rice dough, and in the middle of this rice dough, which is beautiful cover, you have most often azuki beans inside, which is kind of a sweet black bean paste. And the nice thing about it is that it isn't too sweet, not too sugary, so it pairs super well actually with the green tea. But here we are a little bit in a field of a stronger tea. Roasted tea is just stronger than green tea, so we can definitely mix it with something stronger like chocolate. So that's why I am going into these teas and letting you discover them with me. So both of them I used 5 grams. Then I preheated the water on 70 degrees Celsius, 165 Fahrenheit. You can even go higher with the hojicha. So I like to drink the tea at 70 degrees Celsius, but you definitely can go up to 80 or 90 degrees Celsius, which is between 176 to up to 190 Fahrenheit. So can easily play there with the temperature. We're just going to leave them in for 1 minute and then we're going to hop directly into the tasting. If I smell at them, here I got a dark wooden note, nearly a little bit of a pine tree note, very beautiful but super strong dark roasted flavor profile. And here already it's kind of a lighter, a little bit of a sweet wood note, so quite interesting in terms of difference. So let's take these teas. So this is the cookie hojicha number 1. Shake out all the drops and then we're gonna go into the Kavabatain hojicha. Yep, quite well, same amount of water which I used. You already see here the difference. When I move it a little bit closer to the camera, you will definitely see the difference. Here a little bit darker, a little bit more intense in terms of color, a little bit more sediment also at the bottom. And meanwhile here with the Kawabata. We're a little bit lighter, a little bit going nearly a little bit in the slight hint of orange. Meanwhile, the Cookie Hojicha is really dark and intense in its color. So this, as a first thing, when I smell at the wet leaves, here I'm getting now also a little bit this pine tree, wooden, more wooden, and a little bit kind of, it's a little bit like a foggy autumn day when you walk in the forest. This is what I'm getting here the most. And here clearly now I get really this dark kind of roasted notes. I even get a little bit of a slight chocolate note, but maybe I'm influenced by my topic here with the chocolate. But it's really darker, a little bit heavier. And here we have this much more wooden, young wooden notes, which I'm getting much more here and here. I really have this dark wooden, a little bit of a heavier note. But let's go into the tasting of these two teas. So first one is the Cookie Hojicha. I personally am a big fan of this Cookie Hojicha because it really goes away from this typical green tea flavor, which I know from Japan, which is this green, a little bit more umami, savory, sometimes even brothy takes flavor profile. And here we're really in a completely different spectrum. It goes quite close to coffee notes. So I get some coffee notes with this one here. There's kind of this light wooden, but it's kind of a darker light note, kind of this a little bit, I would say the light note for me is a little bit kind of this, there's a undertone of a lingering sweetness, but quite close to this very toasty, a little bit roasted, stronger roasted flavor profile. Now, let's have a look. Very different when we look at the Hojicha from Mr. Kawabata. Here, definitely we have much more of sweeter tones. So with the Cookie Hojicha, I'm getting really these dark tones, these dark, beautiful notes, chocolate notes, a little bit coffee. And much more of this kind of a little bit burnt wood note when you're sitting at a fireplace and you smell a little bit this kind of aroma of burnt wood. This is beautiful, and I'm getting it a lot with this tea. With the cookie, with the Hojicha from Mr. Kawabata, sweet notes, and it's a kind of a light, sweet wooden note. So quite interesting, and a little bit sweeter, a little bit lighter, kind of this younger, sweet wooden note which I'm getting from it. So they're very different, these two teas. Here we're really at this darker notes, and here a little bit this lighter, nearly a little bit sugary notes. So super interesting in terms of difference in flavor profile, even though they're produced in a quite similar manner. But the stems themselves, they seem to capture a little bit more these darker notes. Meanwhile, the typical bancha, roasted bancha, so the Hojicha then really shows a little bit more of this rounder and sweeter notes. And then it really depends what you're looking for. I like this one here a little bit better, the Cookie Hojicha, because it's just a very different tea from what I know. If I want a little bit this lighter and sweeter notes, I tend to prefer Kamairicha versus the Hojicha. The reason is that actually here we are much more in this nice, beautiful, nearly a little bit sugary territory. And there I like to have a little bit of this green astringency undertones, which I'm getting more from the Kamairicha than, for example, from Hojicha. But that's very personal. It really depends what you're a little bit looking for. Here, my preference is definitely the Cookie Hojicha. And as I'm getting a little bit more of these darker notes, and that's the reason also I will now pair once the dark chocolate with the cookie hojicha, and then I will pair the dark chocolate with the hojicha, and then really see the difference is, or if there even is a difference, if one pairs better, one pairs less good, but I will just add a little bit more. So I do the second brewing here. And here. I do the second brewing. You see, very short brewing times. 20 seconds is enough. Good. Then, now dark chocolate. I'm a big fan of dark chocolate. Not so much or too much into milk chocolate. That's why I guess I only have the Mahoney at home. But you really get a little bit this darker, a little bit more bitter notes. There's sugar inside for sure, so it sweetens the deal a little bit, but definitely more bitter. Really a little bit of a learned taste maybe for some of you, if you're more into milk chocolate, because you like the sweetness and the smoothness of the milk chocolate. Dark chocolate might be not the perfect thing for you, but now I want to see how does it pair. Super nice balance. So actually the sweetness of the chocolate, so kind of these chocolatey tones, they mix super well now with the dark chocolate. So it's kind of a more of a symbiosis between these two, because it's really kind of a nice balance between just a little bit more bitter, but the dark notes and the dark notes of the cookie hojicha, they mix in very well. So here I would say they really are taste similar, or there are some taste similarities between the dark chocolate and the cookie hojicha, and it pairs very well. So that's my first impression. Now again, bite of the dark chocolate, and now we're gonna go for hojicha of Mr. Kava 10. Very nice. It's nice. Kind of the hojicha balances a little bit out this chocolate note, but there's kind of a disconnect between the tastes. So they don't fit that well together than the cookie hojicha and the dark chocolate, because they give really, or the cookie hojicha in my opinion gives a little bit these notes which you're looking for, or which you're getting also from the dark chocolate, so it pairs super well. So it's kind of nearly the two taste profiles, they meld together much better. Here, what actually brings the hojicha, what it pushes a little bit more is the bitterness of the chocolate. So actually the chocolate becomes a little bit less pleasant, because there's a nice sweetness of the tea, but it doesn't kind of take over. It just covers for a short time with a nice sweet note my palate, and then the bitterness of the black chocolate comes out again and takes away a little bit this sugary note which I'm getting from the sugar which is inside the chocolate. So it pushes like the bitter notes a little bit more, and it makes it less pleasant. So here definitely the winner for me is the cookie hojicha. Cookie hojicha really complementing well, not carrying too much sweetness, and kind of this hint of sweetness. So you really have a nice kind of get together of the two taste notes of the cookie hojicha and the dark chocolate. Now I put the dark chocolate aside, and I'm curious about my milk, chocolate, honey, and nougat chocolate. So I'll take a bite here. For the ones of you they never had a Toblerone, which is like one of the most famous chocolates coming from Switzerland. So it's nice, milky, smooth, has a nice nougaty undertone, a little bit this beautiful. There's a super nice nougat note. It's quite sugary, so super intense in its sweetness, which is normal for a milk chocolate. I don't even know if they use more sugar, but it seems to me much sweeter than the black chocolate which I had before. Maybe we can have a look. So here, what do we have? 57 grams out of 100 grams of sugar. So yeah, if you ever have milk chocolate, that's the reality you're facing. Oh, here it's much less. Yeah, it's 13 grams. So it's less. Whoa, it's a fifth. So, okay. It might be a little bit, the dark chocolate might be for some of you a little bit too bitter. This is definitely also built on a little bit more bitter taste. But you can see 57 grams per 100 grams, only sugar. Milk chocolate is a lot of sugar. So, now I lost the taste. I have to talk too much, so I bite again. And I go into the taste experience with the cookie Hojicha. But it's nice. Taste is good. Nah, doesn't fit. My opinion. They're very dark notes with the cookie Hojicha, and there's kind of the sweet, sugary, soft notes coming from the chocolate, so they don't really fit together. I still like the cookie Hojicha, but not with milk chocolate, so definitely not one of my favorites. And so I put this aside. I would say the cookie Hojicha in general has a little bit too dark notes. It's not sweet enough. It really pushes a little bit. It's also very close to coffee notes, which just don't fit that well with the milk chocolate, which is a little bit surprising to me because I like actually to, when I drink a coffee, to eat a small piece of chocolate with it. Somehow the coffee is more able to bring kind of a decent and kind of a equilibrium or a balance between the notes of the coffee together with the chocolate. Here, the cookie Hojicha, I think it lies with the wooden note, which is quite strong, like this dark wooden note. It just doesn't pair very well with the sweetness of the chocolate. And I think this is a big difference also of the roasted green tea with coffee. It just has this additional wooden note, which doesn't seem to pair too well with the milk chocolate. It pairs very well with the dark chocolate, but not with the milk chocolate. Then let's go here with the Hojicha. Now I'm curious. It pairs super well. Oh, it's super interesting. I think the main difference between these two is really this has a sweet wooden note, while this has really this dark, kind of dark burnt wooden note. Here you have much more kind of softness, sweetness, and it makes it lighter, it makes it softer, nearly a little bit creamy. And this you're getting a lot from this milk chocolate. I'm getting a lot of this creamy, beautiful, smooth, soft notes. So, fits very well. And really the main difference is that here you have these really dark notes and they cannot bring along a kind of a balance with this smooth, kind of sweeter notes, which I'm getting much more here. So I get the sweet wooden notes, sweet wood sometimes in Switzerland you can buy it in the pharmacy. It's very a sugary wood which you can put in your mouth, and I don't know, I think it's good for the teas or something, they sell it. And this is really having, or this tea is having this much more and brings kind of a sugary, very soft body to this tea, which then is very much on the level of a beautiful Hojicha. So definitely When you're looking to, when your preference is milk chocolate, then rather go for a Hojicha. Maybe even a slightly roasted Hojicha could also be a very good option. If you like this dark, kind of roasted notes, dark chocolate notes, and coffee-like or coffee-close notes with a little bit this burned wooden taste profile, which I personally prefer to the Hojicha, to the standard Hojicha. So then you should go for the cookie Hojicha. And if you want to try both, then you can do this test at home. Maybe you already have a Hojicha and you only need the cookie Hojicha, or you have both already at home. Feel free to try it out. Feel free to leave a comment as well down below on this video. I hope you like this small session here, and I have still a small piece of dark chocolate, which I will enjoy now with a third cup of the cookie Hojicha. Thanks a lot for watching. See you and bye-bye.